Hello everyone and welcome to this week's game development log video diary, and this week it's going to be a bit more of a quick update video instead of me showing off loads of new features, because unfortunately I haven't got a huge amount to show you today. So this week sadly hasn't been the most productive week ever. I was away last weekend, so I only had the first 4 days of this week to work on the game. I've also been ill for the last couple of days, which was very annoying, and on top of that I spent most of my time just restructuring the networking code, which doesn't really make for a very exciting devlog. Before I attempt to show you what I've been working on with the server code, there are just a couple of tiny features that I've added in since last week. Firstly, the target indicator thing for the barrage attacks has been improved a bit so that it now affects things like grass and flowers and other small objects, because it looked a bit strange last week when it only lit up the terrain. As well as that, it now doesn't just instantly appear when you activate a barrage attack, it now sort of expands into existence, which feels just a little bit cleaner. Beam attacks also now look a bit nicer because I fixed some timing issues with them, and I also got the beam to be emitted from the correct position, so it all now looks lovely. And finally, one other very small change that I made this week was to add a plus symbol in front of healing text to hopefully make it a bit more obvious that it represents healing instead of damage. But as I already mentioned, the majority of this week was spent working on the server code and the networking code in general, which is obviously a hugely important part of any MMO. So if you know anything about Java, you'll be able to see here from all of these classes that the server code is already quite a large project, and unfortunately a lot of the server code was written by me almost 2.5 years ago when I didn't really know what I was doing. So I had to spend a long time this week wading through all of this code and redoing and restructuring large sections of this networking code to make sure that it's all up to date and that it will all be easy to expand on in the future. One thing that I can actually show you this week is that multiplayer is now working again. Almost. I haven't actually had multiplayer working since I did the component-based architecture update last year, which changed the whole structure of the client code, and I never actually got round to updating the structure on the server side until now, because I was always just working on graphics or the dev kit. But now that I'm working on combat, I obviously needed to bring back multiplayer, and so that's what I've been doing over the last couple of days. So at the moment, the client syncs with the server around 6 or 8 times a second, I think, and that's why the movement of the other player is so jolty right now, because its position is only being updated something like 8 times a second. But once I've added the client-side interpolation back in, then it will look nice and smooth once again. As you can see, clothes and weapons are already working fine in multiplayer, so if I equip some different clothes and weapons on the other client, you can see the other player being updated on my screen here. Also, the multiplayer auction system is back up and running, which I guess a lot of you won't have seen before because the last time I showed it was back in devlog 25. But basically, each shop has its own auction system for whichever item categories the shop supports. This allows you to offer up your items for whatever price you want, and then this offer will be visible for all the other players who visit that shop. And if they choose to buy your item for that price, then you of course get the money for it. It's a fairly simple system, but if you want to hear more about it, then you can go and check out devlog 25, where I discussed the system in more detail. So I'm afraid that is pretty much all I can talk about this week. I'm very sorry about it not being quite as exciting as usual, but unfortunately game programming isn't always just about fun stuff and new features. Also, a little bit of bad news if you were hoping for a tutorial tomorrow. As you can imagine, I didn't have time to do one this week, and I'm away at the weekend as well, so there's not going to be a new episode tomorrow, sadly. So my apologies for that, but I'll get back into doing more tutorials as soon as I have a little bit more time on my hands. Next week, I'll hopefully be able to make a little bit more progress and get some multiplayer combat working, which I'm very much looking forward to testing out, and you can keep updated with what I'm working on during the week by following any of my social media pages. Links are in the description below. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching this video. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next time.